Hello everyone, Tactical here. Today we have a fun one to showcase. This was played on stream against Butcherbird when we were having some casual fights, and both of us decided to go for full Vanguard armies despite using, well, artillery factions. I'll be using the Vampire Coast, while Butcherbird is going for the Skavens. Now for the army builds here, I'm Vanguard deploying all the pistol mobs. Yes, these guys do have Vanguard deployed, and I am deploying them way ahead of my deployment zone. On the flanks, there are a few Mongols, and they're supported by a couple scurvy dogs. Same goes for the other flanks. And at the very far back here, I say very far back, they are at the very foremost front of the deployment zone. 4 deck droppers with handguns led by Count Noctilus on foot, coming in with Malkov's Mystifying Miasma, Invocation of Nahak, and Drowned Dead. Now for the Skavens played by Butcherbird, he is also going for full Vanguard, this time going with a bunch of Ashen units. Clan Ashen's Triads, and of course some Death Runners somewhere, right here, yeah. Providing some very solid anti-infantry fighting power, while the Ashen Triads will be providing anti-large armor piercing. As for the rest of the army, a ton of slingers, gutter runners, slingers, night runners, slingers, basically a ton of slings to whittle my units down with a sheer volume of firepower. After all, 6 units of missiles are nothing to scoff at. On the flanks, of course, there are some Vanguard deployed wolf rats for mobility. Leading the army, of course, there are some Ashen units. Ashen Sorcerer coming in with the Ninja Star Warp Stars and the Black Whirlwind for a bit of armor-piercing damage. And, of course, Deathmaster Snickage leading the army with, of course, his Deathmaster Sigil. That's it for the army builds. Now let us jump straight into the Vanguard action. Right as the battle begins, both armies actually deployed right behind enemy lines, since both armies deployed way too far ahead in the Vanguard deployment zone. The pistol mobs are turning around to shoot at the slingers, while on the far side there, some wolf rats got deployed on top of some overwhelming force of Mongols and scurvy dogs, and they got immediately routed. The second units of wolf rats will be facing the wrath of 2 Mongols and will be annihilated as well. Though on the other side there, these Mongols are slowly waddling towards the gutter runner slingers, but the swift and agile Ixchis Triads actually managed to caught up and tie them down in melee combat, and they will be quickly cut down by these elite anti-large infantry. While over here, the Fellbats are dropping onto the gutter runner slingers, hoping to silence these slinger firepower, as the deck droppers handguns have been taking noticeable damage from the sheer volume of pebbles flying their way. However, the gutter runners slingers do have pretty decent melee stats, and they are holding just fine against the Fellbats, even kind of winning in this melee combat. Now, in the front line there, the Death Runners have returned, actually, their back line. I don't even know where's front and where's back at this point, as the Death Runners has moved from the front line position back over to cut down all these pistol mobs. Their anti-infantry bonus really helping them clean up the chaff. While on the other side, Mongols have managed to push through some of the wolf rats and now piling onto the Death Runners. Their anti-infantry bonus should do fine against the Death Runners here, though the Death Runners would not go down without a fight. While the Ashen Triads over here and the Ixchis Triads will probably start reinforcing other parts of the battle, especially 2 Mongols. They've managed to win their fight against the wolf rats and are now back in the center, punching down Skavens left, right, and center. Though that might not last long, as the Ashen Triads are coming in, threatening them with the anti-large Guandaos. Right now, the handgun deck droppers managed to push off some routed night runners, but they are kind of needed in the fight over here. One of them has crumbled to dust as they take way too much damage from all these pebbles flying in their face, while the Mongols over here are slowly taking attrition damage from all these Ashen Triads. The Ashen Triads are a bit of a glass cannon. They do pretty good anti-large damage if they're fighting the right targets, like, well, these Mongols, but they themselves, with low model count, low armor, and just a low HP pool in general, are quite fragile. But luckily for them, my Vampire Coast army no longer has any good units to deal with them, so they're just thriving against my monstrous infantry. While Count Noctilus is in a bit of a pickle, Deathmaster Snickage has his eyes on the prize. Count Noctilus is forced to bail out of the situation using the Mongols as cover, while zombie pirate summons have been dropped in, just to add a bit more meat shields for Noctilus to save himself. At the same time, slingers start firing once more. The Mongols are simply peppered to death, completely shattered, while these guys here, while winning against the Death Runners, the Wolf Rats are piling in to pin them down, while the returning Night Runners are coming in with their nice and timely fire support. Mongols who were victorious against the Death Runners are quickly shot to pieces due to their low armor. 3 minutes in and the balance of power is noticeably in the favor of Skavens. Count Noctilus took another big hit from Deathmaster Snikich, and he'll continues to run for his life. He does have the hunger, so as long as he is in melee combat, he can keep healing himself. Actually, he's going for a gutsy charge against Deathmaster here, as the melee mob summon is tying down the Skaven Lord, allowing Noctilus to put in some cheeky hits against Snikich. Though even with that, things are looking very rough for the Vampire Coast. The handgun deck droppers have returned from chasing off routed Night Runners. Managed to shut up some of these Gutter Runner slingers, but the rest of the slingers are now moving in from the other side of the map and will be aiming them down as well, providing a ton of overwatch fire. The sheer number of these Skaven missile units means that they'll have a significant advantage in this fire trade. The deck droppers, in comparison, only having 24 models per unit, being a fragile missile piece, they are not enjoying their unlife right now. Their bat models might help them evade some of the incoming missile, but it can only help them so much. Back to the melee grind here. Let's see how many summons does Count Noctilus still have. 2 on the Drowned Dead and none on the Moon Dial, so he can still get quite a few extra units to delay the inevitable army losses. Another summon has gone down here, as he is trying desperately to hold the line for the handgun deck droppers to maybe do a bit of kite, scoot, and shoot. Unfortunately though, the slingers are out trading them pretty hard in terms of firepower, and they're taking more and more damage over time. Balance of power is shifting even more in the favor of the Skavens, with another handgun deck dropper crumbling to dust that shall seal the fate of the Vampire Coast as army losses hit. Victory shall belong to the Vanguard Rush of Clan Ashen. GG to my opponent Butcherbird, who goes by the name Elin Morin Tedronai in this battle. He definitely outpicked and out-microed me in this entire game. The slingers especially, very cost-efficient missiles against my expensive Mongols and my fragile deck droppers, the pistol mobs, and basically my entire roster except Count Noctilus himself. So they did some pretty good work overall, while their decent melee stats allow them to just hold in melee even under the harassment of the fell bats. The Wolf Rats didn't do that much damage overall, just trying to do some rear charge and tar-pitting some of my Mongols, while the Ashen Triads, due to their anti-large bonus, they trade really efficiently into my Mongols, especially the Ixious Triads. With their regiment of renowned melee stats, they did some really impressive work. The Death Runners, mostly just cutting down chaff, getting some decent value overall, nothing too impressive, while the leadership here not doing too much damage overall either. The Ashen Sorcerer did some Ninja Star and chipped away some health off Count Noctilus, but that's about it. For the Vampire Coast here, didn't get a good trade across the board. One of the Mongols almost earned back its worth, but still not quite there because of all the pebbles shooting up their unarmored bodies. The deck droppers also didn't have any good targets to shoot at. The reason why I brought handguns is I was hoping to just shoot up the armored weapons teams, but there are no weapons teams in this Ashen build, so they simply served no good purpose in this battle whatsoever. The mobility didn't get that much done either, and the pistol mobs, well, they're just chaff, so not a lot of damage either. So yeah, that's it for today's battle. I hope you enjoyed this multiplayer action, and if you want to see more Total Warhammer 3 content, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Tactical Lich, signing out.